"If you have that baby, I'll destroy your family," he said without mercy. 4 years later, he saw her smiling beside a twins who looked exactly like him. "Hi, my beautiful family. Welcome back to Mr. Peter Stories, your own family story channel. May the Almighty pour His strongest blessings upon you, especially upon every woman who carries love with courage and gives strength without asking for praise. May your bodies be guarded with health, your hearts wrapped in peace, and your spirits lifted with hope that never grows tired. You are the quiet power of families, the steady light in dark hours, the reason homes survive storms. May God replace every tear you hide with comfort, every burden you carry with relief, and every prayer in your heart with a gentle answer. May your days be calm, your nights be restful, and your lives be honored with the respect you deserve. You matter. You are seen. You are deeply valued, today and always. If your heart is true, like the video. If your love is real, write, "I am with Mr. Peter." Mark Taylor's office had a view that made people feel small, and that's exactly how Cicely felt the moment she told him she was carrying his children. But that was 5 years ago. Tonight, standing in the grand ballroom of the Mandarin Oriental, wearing a red dress that cost more than Mark paid her in a month, Cicely Tyson felt anything but small. She felt like a storm that had finally found its target. The charity gala buzzed around her, Manhattan's elite in their diamonds and lies, but her focus had narrowed to one man across the room. Mark Taylor. Still handsome in that carved-from-marble way that had once made her heart race. Still commanding every room he entered. Still wearing power like cologne. He hadn't seen her yet. Good. She needed a moment to steady herself, to remember why she'd accepted this invitation when she'd spent 5 years avoiding any event where he might appear. To remember what he'd done to her in that office with the floor-to-ceiling windows. The memory hit like a fist. His office, that morning. Her hands shaking as she held the pregnancy test results, rehearsing the words she'd practiced in the bathroom mirror for an hour. "Mark, I need to talk to you." He'd been reviewing contracts, barely glancing up. "Make it quick. I have a meeting in 10. "I'm pregnant. Twins." The pen in his hand had stopped moving. The silence stretched so long she could hear her own heartbeat pounding in her ears. When he finally looked up, his eyes were cold, stranger's eyes. "Get rid of it." 3 words that shattered her world. "Mark, I thought we—" "You thought what? That this was going somewhere?" He laughed, actually laughed. "Cicely, you're my assistant. This was fun, but it wasn't real. It was never real. You said you loved me. 2 nights ago, in your bed, you said—" "I say a lot of things." He opened his desk drawer, pulled out a stack of cash. $50,000. He threw it on the desk between them like it was contaminated, like she was contaminated. "Take care of it. We're done here." "I can't kill my babies." "Then you're stupider than I thought." He leaned forward, voice dropping to something venomous. "Listen carefully, Cicely. If you keep that baby, I will destroy your life. I'll blacklist you in every company in this city. I'll tell everyone you tried to trap me. I'll make sure you can't get a job cleaning toilets. You'll be nothing. You'll die nothing. And that baby will grow up knowing its mother was too pathetic to make the smart choice." She'd started crying then, couldn't help it. "You don't mean that?" "I mean every word." He pressed the intercom button without breaking eye contact. "Security to my office. Now. I need someone removed." "Mark, please, I'm begging you." "You should have thought about that before you got careless." He turned back to his contracts like she'd already ceased to exist. "Security will escort you out. If you ever contact me again, if you ever try to claim I'm the father, if you ever speak my name to anyone, I'll have you arrested for harassment and defamation. Do you understand?" 2 security guards appeared, large men with blank faces. "Escort Ms. Tyson out of the building. She's terminated effective immediately." "Sir, my things will be mailed to you. 10. Goodbye, Cicely. I hope you make the smart choice, for once." They'd walked her through the office in front of everyone, colleagues she'd worked with for 18 months, people she'd thought were friends. They all watched her cry, watched her leave, and not one person said a word. The whispers started before she reached the elevator. By the time she hit the street, she was shaking so hard she had to sit on the curb. That was the last time she'd seen Mark Taylor's face. Until tonight. "Mama, Mama!" The voice yanked Cicely back to the present. She turned to see Lily running across the ballroom, white flower girl dress trailing petals, face bright with 5-year-old joy. Behind her, more carefully, came Rowan, clutching his ring-bearer pillow. "We did the walk. Did you see us?" Lily grabbed Cicely's hand, bouncing. "I saw, baby. You were perfect." "Rowan dropped 3 petals," Lily announced. "Did not. You dropped like a million." "Did not," Cicely laughed, kneeling to fix Lily's flower crown. Her daughter, her son, the 2 babies Mark had told her to erase. They were everything. "Can we have cake now?" Rowan asked, already distracted. "After the speeches, love." "But I'm hungry now." "Then have some cheese from the appetizer table. The fancy cheese, all of it's fancy, baby." Lily's flower basket had a broken handle, dragging on the marble floor. Before Cicely could pick it up, a shadow fell across them. A hand reached down. "Let me help with that." Cicely's blood turned to ice. Mark Taylor stood there, the flower basket in his hands, his face frozen in an expression she couldn't name. The twins looked up at him with innocent curiosity. "Thank you, mister," Rowan said automatically. Lily tilted her head. "You smell fancy, like the cologne store Mama never lets us go in." Then Mark's eyes moved from the twins to Cicely. She watched it happen in slow motion, watched the recognition crash over him, watched his face go white, watched his hands start to shake around that flower basket. He saw Lily's copper skin, saw her smile, Cicely's smile. Then he looked at Rowan and saw his own eyes staring back at him. Grey-green, unmistakable, 5 years old. The math was simple. "Cicely?" His voice cracked like glass. "Are these—" She stood slowly, positioning herself between Mark and her children, every muscle in her body coiled tight. "Lily, Rowan, go find Miss Rosa, now." "But Mama, now." Something in her voice made them obey instantly. They scampered off, and Cicely watched them go before turning her full attention to the man who'd tried to destroy her. She took a step forward. He took a step back. "Stay away from my children." "Cicely, I didn't know." "You knew exactly what you were doing." Her voice could cut diamonds. "You threatened me. You humiliated me. You called security on me like I was trash. Are they—" He couldn't finish the sentence. "Mine? Yes, only mine." "How old? Do they look 5 to you, Mark? Can you do the math, or should I spell it out for you?" She smiled, and it was razor sharp. "These are the babies you told me to get rid of, the ones you said would destroy me, the ones you paid me $50,000 to erase like a mistake." Mark's face had gone grey. "I was wrong. Yes, you were." She picked up her clutch from the nearby table, her champagne glass. "Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a gala to attend, important people to meet, success to celebrate, all the things you swore I'd never have." She started to walk away. "Cicely, please." His hand reached for her arm. She stopped, looked at his hand, then at his face. He dropped it like she'd burned him. "Don't ever touch me again." Her voice was soft now, deadly soft. "And don't go near my children. If I see you within 10 feet of them, I'll have security remove you. And unlike you, Mark, I won't have to threaten anyone to make it happen. People actually respect me now. They actually listen when I speak. Funny how that works when you build something real instead of an empire of cruelty." She walked away, heels clicking on marble, head high, shoulders back. She didn't look back, but she knew he was watching, could feel his eyes on her like a physical weight. Good. Let him watch. Let him see what nothing became. She found the twins with Miss Rosa near the dessert table, but there was someone else with them now, a man. Tall, dark-haired, expensive suit that actually fit. He was crouched down talking to Rowan about something, and her son was animated in a way he rarely was with strangers. Dante Russo, her business partner, her friend, her something more than friend that they hadn't quite defined yet. He saw her approaching and smiled. "There she is. I was just telling Rowan about the chocolate fountain." "It's chocolate," Rowan said, like this was the most important discovery in human history. "I can see that, baby." Lily tugged on Dante's jacket. "Can we go see it up close?" "If your mum says it's okay." Both twins turned to Cicely with pleading eyes. "Fine, but don't touch it, just look." "Yes!" They took off running. Dante straightened, handed Cicely a fresh glass of champagne. "You okay? You look like you've seen a ghost." "Worse. I saw Mark." His expression darkened. "Where?" "Over there, by the bar." They both looked. Mark was standing alone, champagne in hand, but he wasn't looking at the crowd around him. He was staring at the dessert table, at Lily and Rowan, at the children who were his but would never be his. His face was devastated. "Should I handle this?" Dante asked quietly. "No, he's already handled." "You sure?" "I'm sure." But even as she said it, even as she watched Dante walk toward the twins to supervise their chocolate fountain investigation, even as she stood there in her red dress worth more than Mark used to pay her in a month, she felt it. The shift in the air, the weight of 5 years of silence about to break, because Mark Taylor wasn't moving, wasn't mingling, wasn't doing anything except standing there staring at those children with an expression of absolute devastation. And Cicely realized something that made her blood run cold. He wasn't going to let this go. He was going to fight, and she was going to have to destroy him all over again. Across the ballroom, Mark watched Dante laugh with the twins, watched the man ruffle Rowan's hair, watched Lily grab his hand, watched the family that should have been his. His hands were shaking so badly he had to set down his champagne glass. Those were his children. His. And they'd just called another man's name. He'd thought he'd won 5 years ago when Cicely disappeared. He'd thought he'd dodged a bullet. He'd thought wrong. So very, very wrong. Chapter 2. The Woman Who Disappeared. They said she vanished because she was ashamed, but shame had nothing to do with it. Cicely Tyson had gone to war with herself, and she'd won. The morning after the gala started like every morning in Cicely's brownstone in Brooklyn Heights, with chaos, laughter, and at least one minor disaster. "Mama! Rowan put syrup in my hair." "I did not. She put her head on my plate." Cicely stood at the kitchen counter, already dressed for work in a charcoal suit that fit like armor, watching her 5-year-old twins engage in breakfast warfare. Miss Rosa, their nanny, was trying to separate them with limited success. "Lily, your head does not belong on anyone's plate," Cicely said calmly, pouring coffee. "Rowan, apologize for the syrup." "But she—" "Apologize." "Sorry," Rowan mumbled. "Now, hug." They did grudgingly, then immediately returned to their pancakes like nothing had happened. This was parenthood, constant negotiation with tiny dictators who forgave as quickly as they fought. Cicely's phone buzzed. Work email. She scanned it quickly. 3 new client meetings, a contract renewal worth $200,000, and a message from her assistant about someone trying to book a meeting with her. Mark Taylor's name appeared in the subject line. She deleted it without reading further. "Mama, why do you have to go to work?" Lily asked, syrup somehow now on her face despite the hair incident. "So I can buy you those shoes with the lights in them you keep asking for. The ones that blink when I walk. Those exact ones. Can Dante come for dinner tonight?" The question caught Cicely mid-sip. Rowan perked up immediately. "Yeah, can he? He said he'd bring his chess set." "We'll see, babies. He might be busy." "He's never too busy for us," Lily said, with the absolute certainty of a child who'd never been disappointed. "He said so." Cicely's chest tightened. Her daughter was right. In the 8 months since Dante Russo had entered their lives, he'd never once cancelled on them, never once made them feel like an obligation, never once looked at them like they were a problem to solve. The thought triggered something dark in her memory. She closed her eyes briefly and suddenly she was back there. 5 years ago, the worst year of her life. She'd been 4 months pregnant when Mark fired her. 4 months pregnant, jobless and blacklisted. The apartment she'd been renting, a tiny studio in Queens, evicted her 6 weeks later when she couldn't make rent. She'd called her mother once, desperate, but Joyce Tyson had made her position clear. You got yourself into this mess. You lie down with dogs, you get fleas. Thanks, Mom. So Cicely had packed everything she owned into 2 suitcases and boarded a Greyhound bus to Chicago with $800 in her pocket. She'd chosen Chicago randomly, far enough from New York that Mark Taylor's influence wouldn't reach, cheap enough that she might survive. Those first months were a blur of survival. She'd found a basement apartment that smelled like mildew and rented it week to week, worked as a waitress during the day, cleaned offices at night, slept when she could, cried in bathroom stalls when the exhaustion overwhelmed her. She gave birth to Lily and Rowan alone in Cook County Hospital. No family, no friends, just her and 2 tiny humans who depended on her for everything. That first night, holding them both in her hospital bed, she'd made a promise. You'll never be poor. You'll never wonder if you're loved, and no one will ever make you feel small. She'd kept that promise. The years blurred together. Night school for business certification, while the twins slept in a stroller beside her desk, teaching herself to code on library computers during the twins' nap times, building a freelance web design business, one $20 project at a time, then the break. A small startup hired her to design their website. She charged $500, desperate for the money. The startup exploded. They'd offered her equity as thanks. When they sold 2 years later, Cicely's share was $900,000. She'd cried for 3 days straight, used the money to start her own company, Tyson Tech, consulting for businesses that needed digital transformation. She'd built it carefully, methodically, the way she did everything now. No risks, no trusting the wrong people. Just steady, relentless growth. Last year, her company grossed $8 million in revenue. This year, she'd been featured in Forbes. Mama, you okay? Rowan was staring at her, his small face concerned. Cicely realized she'd been standing motionless, coffee cup in hand, lost in memory. I'm perfect, baby. She kissed the top of his head. Finish your breakfast. Miss Rosa's going to take you to school soon. Are you picking us up? Lily asked hopefully. Not today, sweetheart. Big meeting, but I'll be home for dinner. And Dante will come? We'll see. After dropping the twins at kindergarten, a private school in Brooklyn that cost more per year than Cicely used to make in 5, she drove to her office in Manhattan. Tyson Tech occupied the 15th floor of a building in Tribeca, all glass and clean lines and success. Her assistant, Jamie, met her at the elevator with a tablet and a concerned expression. Mark Taylor called again. 4 times. He wants a meeting. Block his number. Already did. He called from different numbers. Block those too, and if he shows up here, call security. Got it. Jamie hesitated. He sounded desperate. Good. Cicely walked into her office, closed the door, and stood at the window overlooking the Hudson River. This view cost her $10,000 a month, worth every penny just for moments like this, when she needed to remember how far she'd climbed. On her desk sat a framed photo. Lily and Rowan from last summer, covered in paint from an art project gone wrong, laughing so hard their whole bodies shook. It was her favorite picture in the world. Mark had said they'd ruin her life. They'd given her one. Her phone buzzed. Text from Dante. Dinner tonight? I'll bring the chess set. And something for Lily so she doesn't feel left out. Cicely smiled despite herself. He always thought of both of them. Always made sure neither twin felt forgotten. She typed back. 7. Don't be late. Lily's making you a welcome home sign. I'm not even home yet and she's already planning my arrival. I'm honored. You should be. She used the good markers. A pause, then. How are you after last night? Cicely's smile faded. She'd told Dante everything last night after the gala, about seeing Mark, about his shock when he realized the twins were his, about the way he'd tried to apologize. Dante had listened without judgment, then held her until she stopped shaking. "I'm okay," she typed. "Better than okay. I'm free." "You were always free. You just finally saw him clearly." Cicely set down her phone and looked at the photo again. Lily and Rowan, happy and loved and completely unaware of the man who'd tried to prevent their existence. Mark Taylor wanted back into her life, into their lives. Let him try. She'd spent 5 years building walls he could never scale. Chapter 3. When he saw them. Mark Taylor had forgotten many things in 5 years, women, deals, promises, but the moment he saw those 2 children, he remembered everything. The gala had continued after Cicely walked away, but Mark experienced it as a series of disconnected moments. Speeches he didn't hear, applause he didn't join, dinner he didn't taste. All of it background noise to the revelation thundering through his skull. He had children, twins, a daughter with Cicely's smile and skin like polished amber, a son with his eyes, grey-green and serious, 5 years old. The math was unavoidable. They'd been born after he fired her, after he threatened her, after he threw $50,000 at her like she was a problem that could be bought off. She'd kept them, raised them, alone. He'd spent the rest of the gala trying to catch another glimpse of them, these children who were his but would never be his. Security eventually positioned themselves between him and Cicely's table. She'd noticed his staring and made one phone call. That's all it took. The head of security approached him personally. "Mr. Taylor, Ms. Tyson has requested you maintain distance from her party." The humiliation burned. Once, he'd been the one making those calls. Now he was the one being warned off like a stalker. He watched from across the room as the children played. Really watched them. Lily was pure energy, bouncing from person to person, making friends with everyone. She'd collected business cards from at least 6 people, business cards, and was showing them to her brother like treasures. Rowan was quieter, more careful. He stayed close to the nanny, an older woman with kind eyes who kept him from being overwhelmed by the crowd. Every few minutes he'd look towards Cicely, checking she was still there. Then the man appeared again. Dante. Mark had done his research during the speeches, phone hidden under the table like a teenager. Dante Russo, real estate developer, self-made billionaire, 35, never married, philanthropist, respected, liked, everything Mark was supposed to be and wasn't. Dante crouched down to the twins' level, said something that made Lily giggle and Rowan smile. Then he produced 2 packages from his jacket. "You said you'd wait until after dinner," Lily protested, but she was already reaching for hers. "I lied," Dante said seriously. "I'm actually terrible at waiting." The children tore into their gifts. Lily got a sketchbook with professional pencils. Rowan got a book about dinosaurs, hardcover, illustrated. Not expensive gifts trying to buy affection. Thoughtful ones, personal ones. Rowan hugged the book to his chest. "Thank you, Dante." "You're welcome, buddy. But you have to promise to tell me about every dinosaur you learn." "Every one? Every single one? Even the hard names?" "Especially those." Mark's chest felt tight. That should be him. He should be the one giving them gifts, learning their interests, making them smile. But he wasn't. He was a stranger watching from across a ballroom, kept away by security because their mother, rightfully, didn't trust him within 10 feet of them. Near the end of the evening, something happened that nearly broke him. Rowan tripped on his shoelace and fell, not hard, but enough to scrape his palm. He didn't cry immediately, just stared at his hand in shock. Then his face crumpled. 3 people moved at once. Cicely was there first, kneeling in her evening gown on the ballroom floor. "Let me see, baby." The nanny appeared with a first aid kit. Apparently she carried one everywhere. But it was Dante who made Rowan stop crying. He sat down on the floor beside the boy, not hovering, just present. "That hurt, huh?" Rowan nodded, tears on his cheeks. "I fell off my bike once and scraped both my knees. Cried like crazy. You know what my dad told me? What? He said tears are just your body's way of washing out the sting, so cry if you need to. But when you're done, we'll clean it up and get back to having fun. Rowan considered this. Did you get back to having fun? Eventually. Took 3 ice cream cones, though. 3? Yep. Scraped knees require multiple ice creams. It's science. That got a wet laugh. Cicely cleaned and bandaged the scrape, while Dante distracted Rowan with increasingly ridiculous ice cream flavors he claimed to have invented. Pickle and peanut butter. That's gross. Pizza-flavored. No way. Dinosaur-shaped. They roar when you eat them. Now you're just making stuff up. Maybe, but you stopped crying, so my work here is done. Rowan smiled, bandaged palm forgotten. Dante high-fived him gently, careful of the scrape. That's when Mark knew he'd lost something he couldn't get back. It wasn't just Cicely. It was this. Family. The easy intimacy of knowing how to comfort a child. The trust that came from showing up day after day, proving you wouldn't leave. He'd thrown it all away before it even existed. His wife, Vanessa, found him near midnight, drunk at the bar. "You've been weird all night," she said, annoyance sharp in her voice. "What's wrong with you?" How could he explain? "I saw my children for the first time. I never knew they existed. I threw away the only woman I ever loved because I was a coward." "Nothing," he said, "just tired." "Well, get over it. The Hendersons want to have dinner next week and you need to be charming." He looked at his wife, really looked at her. Beautiful. Cold. They'd been married 3 years, and he couldn't name one thing about her that wasn't surface level. Couldn't name her favorite food, or what made her laugh, or what she dreamed about. They'd married because it made sense. 2 attractive people from good families combining resources. That's all they were. Resources. Cicely had been real. What they had was messy and complicated and real, and he'd destroyed it because he was afraid. "I need to go," Mark said, standing abruptly. "What? The event isn't over. I need to go." He walked out, leaving Vanessa standing at the bar, furious. He drove to his penthouse in silence, mind racing. He had to fix this. Had to find a way to explain, to apologize, to be part of their lives. The children were his. That had to count for something, didn't it? Chapter 4. The Man Who Haunts Empty Rooms. Mark Taylor had everything except the one thing that mattered, and for the first time in his life, money couldn't buy it back. The penthouse was silent when he entered. 2,500 square feet of Manhattan luxury, floor-to-ceiling windows, furniture that cost more than cars. It felt like a mausoleum. Vanessa wasn't home yet, still at the gala, probably networking or complaining about him to her friends. Their marriage had become this, 2 people sharing an address and not much else. Mark poured himself a drink he didn't want and stood at the window overlooking Central Park. The same view from his office, the same view he'd had when Cicely told him she was pregnant. His phone sat on the counter, dark and accusing. He picked it up, opened Instagram, something he rarely used, and searched for Cicely Tyson. Her profile was public, professional. The bio read CEO, Tyson Tech, Mama to L and R, building better businesses, raising better humans. The photos were carefully curated. Office shots, speaking engagements, a few with the twins, always candid, always joyful. One from 2 months ago stopped him cold. Lily and Rowan on a beach somewhere, building a sandcastle. Rowan was concentrating intensely on his turret. Lily was decorating hers with shells, both wearing matching sun hats, both laughing. The caption, "My whole world in one frame." 800,000 likes, hundreds of comments calling her inspiring, a role model. Amazing. They didn't know she'd built that empire from nothing, that she'd raised those children alone, that every success in her life came from pure determination because someone had tried to destroy her. He kept scrolling. Found a photo from a tech conference 3 months ago. Cicely on stage, holding a microphone, mid-speech. She looked powerful, confident. Nothing like the frightened 23-year-old he'd fired. Another photo, Halloween. The twins in dinosaur costumes, Cicely as a paleontologist. Lily had fake fossils in a bag. Rowan was making dinosaur hands. The caption, "They chose the costume theme. I just showed up." More comments, more likes, more evidence of a life that had flourished without him. Then he found it, the photo that made his hands shake, dated 6 months ago, Cicely in a simple dress, laughing at something off camera. Beside her, holding her hand, was Dante Russo, and in front of them, both looking up at Dante with obvious adoration, were the twins. The caption was simple: "Building something beautiful." The comments were full of heart emojis, people saying they made a beautiful family, someone asking if wedding bells were coming soon. Mark felt sick. He spent the next hour doing what he knew was pathetic, stalking her digital presence. LinkedIn showed her career trajectory, from nothing to CEO in 4 years. Articles she'd written about entrepreneurship, speaking engagements at major conferences, board positions. She'd meant it when she said people listened to her now. He found a podcast interview from last year, clicked play without thinking. Her voice filled the room, warm and clear. "So I moved to Chicago with less than $1,000, pregnant, alone, terrified. But I had a choice. I could let fear win, or I could fight, and I had 2 tiny humans depending on me to fight." "That must have been incredibly difficult," the host said. "It was, but difficult isn't the same as impossible. I worked 3 jobs, slept maybe 4 hours a night, studied whenever I could, and slowly, very slowly, things got better." What would you say to other women facing similar situations? A pause. Then, that you're stronger than whatever tried to break you, that being knocked down doesn't mean staying down, and that the people who tried to destroy you don't get to narrate your story. You do. Mark stopped the podcast, couldn't listen anymore. She was talking about him. She didn't say his name, but every word was about what he'd done to her. He grabbed his phone, pulled up his contacts, found her number. Still saved. He'd never deleted it. His thumb hovered over the call button. What would he even say? "Sorry I threatened to destroy you. Sorry I called you nothing. Sorry I threw money at you like you were trash." He called anyway. It rang once, twice. Then, "The number you have reached is no longer in service." She'd changed it. Of course she had. He tried her company's main line, got an automated system, eventually reached a human. "Tyson Tech, how may I direct your call?" "I need to speak with Cicely Tyson." "Do you have an appointment?" "No, but Ms. Tyson only takes meetings by appointment. I can transfer you to her assistant." Before he could argue, hold music played. Then a new voice, younger, efficient. "This is Jamie, Ms. Tyson's assistant. How can I help you?" "I need to speak with Cicely. It's urgent." "Your name?" "Mark Taylor." A pause. A very long pause. "I'm sorry, Mr. Taylor, Miss Tyson isn't available." "When will she be available?" "She's not taking meetings with you. I'm sorry." "This isn't a business meeting." "I'm going to end this call now, Mr. Taylor. Have a good evening." Click. He tried again the next day, and the next. Always the same result. Always the same polite rejection. On day 4, he sent flowers to her office, 2 dozen roses, expensive. The card read, "Please let me explain. M." They were returned that afternoon, unopened, with a note in handwriting he didn't recognize. "Ms. Tyson doesn't accept gifts from strangers." Strangers. The word gutted him. Vanessa noticed his distraction after a week. They were having dinner, separately as always, she at one end of the table, him at the other, when she finally spoke. "You've been off since that gala. What happened?" "Nothing. Don't lie. You're terrible at it." He looked at his wife. They barely knew each other, but she could apparently read him anyway. "I saw someone I used to know." "A woman?" "Yes." Vanessa's laugh was sharp. "Of course. Who was she? Another assistant you got bored with?" The accuracy stung. "It wasn't like that. It's always like that with you." She sipped her wine. "Let me guess. You dumped her, she moved on, and now you want her back because she's not available anymore. Mark said nothing. I'm right, aren't I? Vanessa shook her head. You're so predictable. She had my children. The wine glass stopped halfway to her mouth. What? Twins, a boy and a girl. They're 5 years old. Vanessa set down the glass very carefully. You have children? I didn't know, not until I saw them. But you knew she was pregnant. He didn't answer, didn't need to. You threw her away, Vanessa said quietly. Pregnant, and you threw her away. I was wrong. You were cruel. She stood abruptly. I knew you were cold, Mark. I knew our marriage was a transaction, but I didn't know you were that cruel. Vanessa, don't. I need to think. She left the dining room, left him sitting alone with his expensive food and his expensive furniture and his expensive regrets. He couldn't stop thinking about them. Lily and Rowan, his children. Children he'd never held, never met, never even knew existed until a week ago. Children who called another man's name. That night, unable to sleep, Mark searched for Dante Russo, found his bio, his companies, his reputation, respected, ethical, generous, everything Mark pretended to be and wasn't. There were photos of Dante at charity events, construction sites, ribbon cuttings, professional, successful, and then, on a lifestyle site, an article from 3 months ago, New York's most eligible bachelor, Dante Russo. The article detailed his companies, his philanthropy, his personal life. Single but dating someone seriously, sources said. Seen frequently with tech CEO Cicely Tyson and her children. Friends described him as patient and genuine. The article ended with speculation about whether New York's most eligible bachelor was finally ready to settle down. Mark closed his laptop. Cicely had rebuilt her life without him, built it better, and she'd found someone who would never do to her what Mark had done. He'd lost her, he'd lost them, and he had no one to blame but himself. Chapter 5. The man who deserved her, Dante Russo, didn't believe in love at first sight, but he believed in recognizing someone worth fighting for, and Cicely Tyson was worth everything. The first time Dante saw Cicely was at a business summit in Chicago 8 months ago. She'd been on a panel about scaling startups, and he'd been in the audience mostly out of obligation. Then she started speaking. She was sharp, funny, brutally honest about the failures that preceded her success. She didn't sugarcoat anything. When another panelist suggested that entrepreneurship was about finding your passion, Cicely had laughed. Passion doesn't pay rent, she'd said. I built my company because I needed to survive. The passion came later. Start with a problem you can solve, not a dream you can chase. After the panel, he'd introduced himself, extended his hand, said something forgettable about admiring her work. She'd looked at him with barely concealed skepticism. Let me guess, she'd said. You want to invest in my company? No. That surprised her. Then what do you want? To take you to dinner. Not interested. Coffee? Still no. A conversation that doesn't involve me trying to get anything from you. She'd studied him for a long moment. Why? Because you're interesting and I'd like to know you better. I have kids, twins. Okay. I don't date much. Okay. And I don't trust easily. That's probably smart. She'd almost smiled then. Almost. 1 coffee. That's it. That coffee had turned into 3 hours. No talk of business, no posturing, just conversation. She'd been guarded, careful, ready to leave at the first sign he was like the others. But Dante had learned long ago that the best way to earn trust was to not demand it. His own history made him cautious too. 3 years ago he'd been engaged. She was beautiful, charming, from a good family. Everything looked perfect on paper. Then she'd met someone wealthier, left him a week before the wedding, sent him a text. I need more than you can give me. It had broken something in him, made him wonder if he'd ever be enough for anyone. So he understood Sicily's walls, understood the hesitation. They were both protecting wounds that hadn't quite healed. It took 4 months before she agreed to introduce him to her children. He'd been terrified. He'd shown up at her brownstone with 2 coloring books, one with flowers, one with dinosaurs, uncertain which kid would like which. She'd answered the door looking exhausted, hair in a messy bun, still in work clothes. "They're a lot," she'd warned him. "If it's too much, you can leave." "It won't be too much. You say that now." But he'd meant it. Lily had run to him immediately, all energy and excitement. "Hi, are you Dante? Mama said you're nice. Do you like coloring?" Before he could answer, she'd grabbed his hand and pulled him inside. Rowan had been less enthusiastic. He'd hidden behind Sicily, watching with serious eyes that looked oddly familiar. Dante had crouched down, made himself smaller. "Hey, buddy, I'm Dante. Your mom told me you like dinosaurs?" No response. "That's okay. I brought something just in case." He'd held up the dinosaur coloring book. "But if you don't want to color, I can just sit here. That's cool too." Rowan had considered this. Then, very quietly, "Which one is your favorite?" "Favorite dinosaur?" A nod. "Probably the Ankylosaurus, the one with the club tail." "Why?" "Because it's got built-in armor. Smart design." Rowan had stepped out from behind Sicily then. "Mine is T-Rex. Classic choice. Solid. Do you want to see my T-Rex toy?" "I would love to see your T-Rex toy." That was it. That's all it took. Rowan had opened up, showing Dante every dinosaur in his collection, explaining their features with the intensity of a 5-year-old expert. Lily had insisted Dante color with her. She'd climbed right into his lap, comfortable immediately, and informed him he was doing it wrong. "Flowers aren't supposed to be blue." "Some are." "Which ones?" Magic ones." She'd giggled. "You're silly." Those first hours had been chaotic and loud and perfect. Sicily had watched from the kitchen doorway, arms crossed, waiting for him to get overwhelmed and leave. He never did. After the twins went to bed, she'd walked him to the door. "You did good," she'd said. "They're great kids. They liked you. I liked them too." She'd looked at him carefully. "Don't make promises you won't keep. They've already been let down once." He'd known she wasn't just talking about the children. "I don't make promises I don't mean," he'd said, "and I mean this. I want to be here. For all 3 of you. We're a package deal. I know. And I don't trust easily. I remember." She'd smiled then, really smiled. "Good." That was 4 months ago. Since then, Dante had become part of their routine. Dinner twice a week, weekend brunches, trips to the park. He'd learned Lily's favorite color changed daily, and Rowan had memorized more dinosaur facts than seemed possible. He'd learned Sicily took her coffee black, hated mornings, and worked too much when she was stressed. He'd learned she had nightmares sometimes and wouldn't talk about them, but would accept him holding her until they passed. He'd learned he was falling in love with all 3 of them. 2 weeks ago, he'd proposed. They'd been alone in her living room, kids asleep upstairs, late-night quiet between them. It hadn't been planned. No ring, no big speech, just, "Marry me." She'd stared at him. "What?" "Marry me. You and the twins. Let me be their dad. Let me be your husband. Let me be the person you come home to." "Dante, I know you're scared. I'm scared too. I'm scared you'll wake up one day and realize I'm not enough, that I can't give you what you need. That's not... But I love you. I love them. And I want to try. If you'll let me." She'd been quiet for so long, he thought he'd ruined everything. Then, "I need time." "Take all the time you need." "You're sure?" "I'm sure." She hadn't answered yet, but she hadn't said no either. Tonight, 2 weeks after that proposal, Dante stood outside her brownstone, holding the chess set he'd promised Rowan and a set of fancy markers for Lily. He knocked, heard thundering footsteps. The door flew open. "Dante!" Both twins crashed into him simultaneously. "Oof! You guys got bigger since yesterday. No, we didn't, Lily laughed. You're just being silly again. Did you bring the chess set? Rowan was already trying to dig through the bag. I did, and I brought markers for Lily so she doesn't get jealous. I wasn't going to be jealous, but Lily was already grabbing the marker set. Oh wow, these are the fancy ones. Cicely appeared in the doorway, leaning against the frame, watching them with an expression he couldn't quite read. You spoil them, she said. They're easy to spoil. She stepped aside to let him in. When the twins ran ahead to set up the chessboard, she caught his arm. Can we talk? After dinner? His heart jumped. Of course. Okay, she kissed him quickly. Thank you for always showing up. Where else would I be? During dinner, Rowan explained his chess strategy, which mostly involved moving pieces randomly until Dante gently corrected him. Lily showed off the welcome home sign she'd made, which featured approximately 30 hearts and a drawing of what might have been Dante, or possibly a friendly alien. This is my favorite thing I've ever received, Dante told her. Really? Really? After dinner, after chess games and coloring and bedtime stories, after the twins were finally asleep, Cicely pulled Dante onto the back patio. The Brooklyn night was cold. She wrapped a blanket around herself. I saw Mark at the gala, she said without preamble. Dante had known. She'd told him that night, but hearing it again still made his jaw tight. How did it feel? Weird. He saw the twins, realized they were his, tried to apologize. What did you say? I told him to stay away from us. Good. She looked at him. He's their biological father. Biology doesn't make you a parent. Showing up does. He wants to be part of their lives now. Now, after 5 years. He said he didn't know. He knew she was pregnant. He chose not to care. Dante took her hand. What do you want to do? I don't know. Do the twins know about him? No, not really. They've never asked about their father. Because they don't feel like anyone's missing, Dante said quietly. They have you. They have Miss Rosa. They have family. They're happy. But what if they want to know him someday? Then we'll deal with it when they're old enough to ask. But right now, you don't owe him anything. You don't owe him explanations or chances or access to the children he didn't want. Cicely was quiet for a long moment, then, I want to say yes. His heart stopped. Yes? To marrying you, to building a family, to letting go of the past. Are you sure? No, but I'm sure about you, about us, and that's enough. Dante kissed her, soft and careful, like she might disappear. I love you, he said. I love you too. She pulled back slightly. But we need to tell the twins first. Agreed. And I need you to know that Mark might not go away quietly. Let him try. You're not alone anymore. Neither are they. She leaned against him, and they stood there in the cold Brooklyn night, building something beautiful. Inside, through the window, they could see the twins' artwork taped to the walls. Lily's chaotic colors, Rowan's careful dinosaur drawings. A family. Not perfect, but theirs. Chapter 6. The cracks begin to show. Empires don't fall in a day. They crumble slowly, one truth at a time, and Mark Taylor's empire was built on lies. The tech conference was held at the Javits Center. 10,000 attendees, hundreds of panels. Mark had registered primarily because he'd learned Cicely was the keynote speaker. He needed to see her again, needed to explain, needed her to understand that he was different now, that he was sorry, that he wanted to make things right. Vanessa didn't know where he was. They'd been sleeping in separate bedrooms since the dinner conversation, and she'd stopped pretending to care about his schedule. Mark arrived early, found a seat in the back of the main hall. The keynote was titled, From Survival to Success, Building a Company with $800 and 2 babies. She'd told this story before. He'd found the podcast, the articles, but hearing it announced made his chest tight. The lights dimmed. A host took the stage, gave a glowing introduction. Then Cicely walked out, and the applause was immediate. She looked incredible. Black suit, simple jewelry, hair pulled back. Professional, powerful. Nothing like the scared assistant he'd fired 5 years ago. "Thank you for having me," she began, her voice carrying easily through the hall. "I'm going to tell you a story. It's not a comfortable one, but it's true." She told them about being 23 and pregnant, about being fired by someone she thought loved her. She didn't name Mark, but she didn't need to. The people in his industry knew the rumors, had heard the whispers. "He told me I'd be nothing," Cicely said, "threw $50,000 at me and told me to make the problem disappear. And for a while I believed him, believed I was nothing, believed my children would ruin my life." Mark felt eyes on him, whispers starting. Someone nearby pulled out their phone. "But here's what I learned," Cicely continued. "The people who try to destroy you, they're telling on themselves, they're revealing their fear, their weakness, their need to control. And once you see that, they lose their power." She talked about the first year, working 3 jobs, sleeping 4 hours a night, teaching herself to code with babies in a stroller beside her. "I didn't build my company out of passion," she said. "I built it out of necessity. And then slowly, it became something bigger. It became proof that I was never nothing, that my children weren't a problem, that the man who tried to bury me only made me dig deeper." The applause was thunderous. During Q&A, someone asked, "Do you ever regret not taking the money, not taking the easier path?" Cicely smiled. "The easier path would have destroyed me. I needed the hard path to find out who I really was." When the keynote ended, Mark tried to reach her. She was immediately surrounded by people wanting to network, to pitch, to connect. Security formed a subtle barrier. He waited an hour, 2. Finally, when the crowd thinned, he approached. "Cicely." She turned, saw him, and her expression went cold. "No. Please, just 5 minutes. I gave you years. You chose silence." "I was wrong. I know I was wrong. I want to explain." "Explain what? That you were cruel. I know that you were scared. I figured that you're sorry now. Too late. They're my children. They're my children. You made that choice when you called security on me." People were watching now, phones out, recording. "Please," Mark said, aware of the audience but desperate. "I want to know them. I want to be part of their lives." "You want?" "Always about what you want." She stepped closer, voice low enough only he could hear. "You don't get to waltz back in because you suddenly developed a conscience. You don't get to meet them, to disrupt their lives, to confuse them about who their father is. I am their father, biologically. That's it. And biology means nothing when you weren't there. Then let me be there now." "No." She turned to leave, then paused. "You wanted me to be nothing, Mark. You wanted to erase me. Instead, I became someone you can't touch. That's your consequence. Learn to live with it." She walked away. Mark stood there, aware of the phone's recording, aware this would be online within hours. He was right. By evening, clips of their confrontation were trending. Tech Twitter was brutal. Comments called him predatory, abusive, cruel. His company's social media was flooded with demands for accountability. His board called an emergency meeting. But it got worse. The next morning, a journalist published an article. "Tech CEO's pattern of abuse. 6 women come forward." 6 women. All of them former employees Mark had fired or blacklisted over the years. Some for refusing his advances. Some for threatening to report harassment they'd witnessed. Some for simply being inconvenient. The article included testimony from a woman named Sarah Kimball. She'd worked for Mark before Cicely. He'd fired her after she complained about a male executive harassing female employees. "He told me I was being dramatic," Sarah said in the interview. "Said I should be grateful to have a job. When I persisted, he blacklisted me. Took me 2 years to find work again." The article drew a line directly to Cicely, showed the pattern, proved it wasn't a one-time mistake but a system. Mark's company lost 3 major clients within 48 hours. His investors demanded a meeting. They wanted him out. The company he'd built for 15 years was crumbling because of decisions he'd made in fear, in anger, in cruelty. At home, Vanessa was packing. "What are you doing?" "Leaving," she said calmly. "I'm filing for divorce." "Vanessa, I knew you were cold. I married you anyway, but I didn't know you were abusive. I have limits, Mark. I never hurt you. You hurt everyone who got close to you. I'm just smart enough to leave before you hurt me too." She left that afternoon, took half their assets in the prenup she'd insisted on. Mark was alone in the penthouse again, but this time it felt different, smaller, emptier, like a prison he'd built himself. His phone buzzed, text from an unknown number. "We need to talk about the development project. Dr. Dr. Dante Russo." Mark's company had been bidding on a major project, a mixed-use development in Brooklyn that would have saved his company. Dante's firm was the primary competitor. Mark called the number. "Russo, you wanted to talk? I wanted to tell you personally that my firm won the bid. City approved it this morning." Mark's stomach dropped. "That project was ours." "No, it was competitive, and they chose us." "Did Sicily?" "Sicily had nothing to do with this. I won on merit, but I wanted you to hear it from me because I know you needed this project." "Why are you calling to gloat?" "I'm not gloating. I'm telling you that your world is shrinking, and it's your own fault. You had everything. You threw it away. Now you're losing it piece by piece, and there's no one to blame but yourself. I made a mistake. You made a choice, multiple choices. You chose cruelty over kindness, control over love, fear over courage. Those aren't mistakes, they're character. And you're so much better? I show up. Those are my children. No, they're Cicily's children, and if she'll have me, they'll be mine too. You get nothing. That's what you earned." The line went dead. Mark sat in his empty penthouse and realized Dante was right. His empire was crumbling, and he'd built it on sand. At Cicily's brownstone that same evening, the twins were in pajamas, arguing over which bedtime story to read. "Dinosaurs," Rowan insisted. "Princesses," Lily countered. "How about both?" Dante suggested. "Dinosaurs who are also princesses." Both children considered this. "Okay," they agreed simultaneously. After stories, after teeth brushing, after goodnight kisses, Cicely and Dante sat in the living room. "Mark's company is falling apart," Dante said. "I know. How do you feel about that?" "Relieved, sad, angry that it took this long for anyone to care." She looked at him. "Is that wrong?" "No, it's human. I thought revenge would feel better than this." "That's because you're not cruel. You just wanted justice, and now you have it." Cicely leaned against him. "I want to move forward, with you, with our life." "Then let's move forward." Outside, New York hummed its usual symphony. Inside, a family was building something that couldn't be destroyed by one man's regret. Mark Taylor's cracks were showing, but Cicely Tyson's foundation was solid. Chapter 7. The Woman Who Burned Bridges. They say forgiveness sets you free, but Cicely Tyson didn't want freedom. She wanted justice, and she was willing to burn every bridge to get it. The article about Mark's pattern of abuse went viral within 24 hours. Cable news picked it up. Social media exploded. Suddenly, everyone wanted to talk about powerful men who weaponized their positions against women who dared to speak up. Cicely watched it unfold from her office, feeling strangely detached. Sarah Kimball called her on the second day after the article dropped. "I hope I didn't overstep," Sarah said. "I saw what he did to you at the conference, and I couldn't stay quiet anymore. You didn't overstep. You did the right thing. He destroyed my career for 2 years. I lost my apartment, lost relationships, all because I reported harassment." "I know. And seeing him try to play victim with you, with your children, I couldn't let him get away with it again." Cicely closed her eyes. Thank you. We should have spoken up together years ago. We were scared. He made us scared. We're not scared anymore, though. No, Cicely agreed. We're not. They met for coffee later that week, these two women who'd been broken by the same man, who'd both rebuilt themselves from nothing. Sarah was a consultant now, successful in her own right. She'd married, had a daughter, created a life that Mark's cruelty hadn't been able to prevent. "Do you think he'll try to fight back?" Sarah asked. "He's already lost too much to fight," Cicely said. "His board forced him to resign yesterday. His wife filed for divorce. Major clients dropped him. He's done." Good. But Cicely didn't feel good. She felt hollow. That night it rained in New York, one of those cold December rains that made everything grey and miserable. Cicely was working late at home, twins already asleep, when her doorbell rang. She checked the security camera. Mark Taylor stood on her stoop, soaking wet, looking like he'd been standing there for hours. She almost didn't open the door, almost called the police. But something about his posture, defeated, small, nothing like the powerful man who'd threatened her, made her crack open the door. "What are you doing here?" "I need to talk to you." "We have nothing to talk about. Please, just 5 minutes, then I'll leave and never bother you again." She should have said no, should have closed the door. Instead, she stepped out onto the covered porch, arms crossed. 5 minutes. Mark looked worse up close, unshaven, dark circles under his eyes, his expensive suit rumpled. "I loved you," he said. "I know you don't believe me, but I did. I loved you more than I've ever loved anyone. You have a strange way of showing love. I was scared, terrified. You were my assistant. I was your boss. You were pregnant. So you threatened to destroy me? I panicked. I made the worst decision of my life. You made a choice, not a mistake, a choice." "I know." His voice broke. "I know. And I've lost everything because of it. My company, my marriage, my reputation. But the worst part, the part that kills me, is that I lost them. I lost you. I lost those children. They were never yours to lose. Can I meet them just once? I won't ask for anything else. I just want to see them, talk to them, let them know I exist." "Why? So you can feel better about yourself?" "So they know their father wanted them, that I didn't abandon them on purpose." "But you did abandon them. That's exactly what you did." Rain pounded the roof. Thunder rumbled. "I'll give you everything I have left," Mark said desperately. "Money, connections, anything, just let me be part of their lives." "I don't need your money. I never did. That's what you never understood." "Then what do you need? What can I possibly do to make this right?" Cicely looked at him. This man who'd held her future in his hands and crushed it, who'd told her she was nothing and meant it, who was now begging for scraps of forgiveness. "Nothing," she said quietly. "There's nothing you can do. You had 5 years to do something. You chose not to." "I didn't know." "You knew I was pregnant. You knew I'd probably keep them. You didn't care. You wanted me gone, and you made me gone. I'm sorry. Sorry doesn't raise children alone. Sorry doesn't work 3 jobs while pregnant. Sorry doesn't rebuild a career from nothing." Mark's face crumpled. "What do I have to do?" "Nothing. That's the point. You can't fix this. You can't undo it. You can apologize 1,000 times and it won't change what you did. So that's it. I just lose everything? Yes. That's not fair." "Fair?" Cicely's laugh was sharp. "You want to talk about fair? Was it fair when you called security on me, when you blacklisted me, when you told me I'd be nothing?" Mark had no answer. "You're losing everything now," Cicely continued, "and it hurts. I know it hurts. I lost everything 5 years ago. The difference is I didn't deserve it. You do." She turned to go back inside. "Cicely, wait." She paused at the door. "If you ever approach my children, if you try to contact them or show up at their school or disrupt their lives in any way, I will file a restraining order so fast it'll make your head spin. Do you understand?" Mark's silence was answer enough. Good, now leave. She went inside, locked the door, and stood in her hallway shaking. Dante appeared from the living room, where he'd apparently been waiting out of sight. Are you okay? No. Yes, I don't know. He pulled her close. She let herself collapse against him. I thought it would feel better, she whispered. Watching him lose everything, I thought I'd feel vindicated. But you don't. I just feel tired. That's because you're not cruel like him. You wanted justice, not vengeance. There's a difference. I don't know anymore. I do. Dante kissed the top of her head. You're one of the best people I've ever met, and he's discovering what it's like to lose someone like you. They stood there, in the quiet hallway, Cicely's designer brownstone 1,000 miles from the basement apartment where she'd given birth alone, where she'd promised her children they'd never be poor, never be unloved, never be less than enough. She'd kept that promise. And Mark would live with his broken ones. Outside, Mark stood in the rain for another 20 minutes, hoping she'd come back out, hoping for another chance. She didn't. Eventually, he walked to the street, got into his car, his lawyer's car technically, since Vanessa had taken his in the divorce, and drove to the modest apartment he was now renting in Queens. His phone buzzed. News alert. Taylor Industries files for bankruptcy protection after major clients withdraw contracts. The company he'd built for 15 years. Gone. He thought about texting Cicely, begging one more time. Instead, he turned off his phone and sat in the dark apartment, thinking about how he'd had everything and thrown it away because he was afraid. The next morning, Cicely woke to find Lily and Rowan in her bed, cuddled on either side of her. Morning, Mama, Rowan mumbled sleepily. Morning, baby. Is Dante coming over? Lily asked. Later. Why? I want to show him my new drawing. He'll love it, I'm sure. Mama? Rowan's voice was serious. Why was that man crying on our steps last night? Cicely's blood went cold. You saw that? I got up for water. Saw him through the window. He was just someone I used to know, who made some bad choices. Was he sad about his choices? Yes, baby. Very sad. That's good, Rowan said matter-of-factly. People should be sad when they do bad things. Out of the mouths of children. That afternoon, Dante came over with lunch. While the twins played in the backyard, he and Cicely sat in the kitchen. I want to say yes, she said, to marrying you, to moving forward, to letting go of all of this. Are you sure? Mark showed up last night, begged me to let him meet the twins, and all I felt was nothing. He doesn't matter anymore. He's a chapter I've already closed. Then let's write a new one. Together? Together. She kissed him, soft and certain. Let's tell the kids tonight. About getting married? About everything. About Mark. About you officially becoming their dad. About moving forward as a real family. I'd like that. Through the window, they watched Lily and Rowan playing, completely oblivious to the adult drama that had shaped their existence. They were happy, safe, loved, and that was all that mattered. Mark Taylor had tried to burn Cicely's life down. Instead, she'd built an empire from the ashes, and now she was ready to stop looking back. Chapter 8. When Kings Kneel. A man can lose his fortune, his reputation, his pride, but it's only when he loses his last chance at redemption that he understands what real poverty feels like. 2 months passed. Mark Taylor's life had become unrecognizable. Taylor Industries declared bankruptcy. The penthouse sold to cover debts. Vanessa took half of what remained in the divorce settlement. He now lived in a one-bedroom apartment in Queens, worked as a consultant for a mid-size firm, and spent his evenings alone wondering how he'd fallen so far. The article about his pattern of abuse had destroyed any chance of rebuilding his reputation. Job offers dried up. Professional contacts stopped returning calls. He'd been erased from the world he'd once dominated. Good, he thought sometimes. I deserve this. Other times, he just felt hollow. He'd stopped trying to contact Cicely, stopped showing up places he knew she'd be, stopped asking mutual connections for information. But he couldn't stop thinking about those children. His children, Lily and Rowan. He saw them sometimes in his dreams, saw what their lives might look like. Birthdays he wouldn't attend, school plays he wouldn't watch, graduations he wouldn't celebrate, all because he'd been a coward 5 years ago. Then he saw the Instagram post. Cicely rarely posted personal content, but this one was clearly important. A photo of her and Dante, dressed up, holding hands. Behind them, Lily and Rowan in fancy clothes, jumping excitedly. The caption, "He said yes to all three of us. Building our forever." Engagement announcement. The comments were full of congratulations, heart emojis, people saying they made a beautiful family. Mark stared at the photo for an hour. Dante would be their father, not biologically but in every way that mattered. He'd be the one they called Dad, the one who taught them to ride bikes, helped with homework, walked them down the aisle someday. All the things Mark should have done, should have wanted to do. He made a decision that night, a stupid, desperate final decision. He drove to Cicely's brownstone the next afternoon, waited outside. He knew it was crossing a line, knew she'd told him to stay away, but he needed to see them. Just once. The door opened around 4. Cicely came out holding Lily's hand. Rowan walked beside them, backpack bouncing. Mark got out of his car. "Cicely." She saw him. Her face went cold. "No, get back in your car. Please, I just want to talk to them, just for a minute." Lily noticed him then. "Mama, who's that?" "No one, baby, get in the car." But Rowan was staring. "He's the crying man from before." Mark's heart lurched. They remembered him, even if only as the crying man. "Please," Mark said, stepping closer. "I'm not here to cause problems. I need them to know I exist." Cicely positioned herself between Mark and the twins. "Get in your car. I'm their father. You're not their anything." Mark's voice broke. "They have a right to know me. They have a right to a stable life, which you would disrupt." He was desperate now, past caring about pride. He dropped to his knees on the sidewalk. "Please, I'm begging you. 5 minutes. That's all I'm asking." The twins stared at him. Lily grabbed Cicely's leg. Rowan looked confused. "Mama, why is he on the ground?" Rowan asked. "Because he thinks begging will change my mind," Cicely said coldly. "It won't." Mark looked up at her, then at the children. They were so close. Right there. "I'm your father," he said directly to them. Silence. Lily's face scrunched up. "What?" "I'm your biological father. I wasn't there when you were born. I should have been. I made a terrible mistake. But I want you to know I exist. That I've always existed." Rowan looked at Cicely. "Is that true?" "Biologically, yes. In every other way, no." Lily seemed to process this. Then, "But Dante's going to be our dad." The words hit Mark like a physical blow. "Dante reads us stories," Rowan added, very serious. "And he knows all the dinosaur names." "And he makes Mama smile," Lily said. "You make her sad." Out of the mouths of children, brutal, honest. "I know," Mark whispered. "I know I made her sad. I'm sorry." "Sorry doesn't fix things," Rowan said, repeating something he'd clearly heard before. Mark looked at Cicely. She was watching him with zero sympathy. "Please," he tried one more time. "Let me be part of their lives somehow. Any way you'll allow." "No." "Cicely, you don't get to do this. You don't get to show up 5 years later and disrupt their happiness because you suddenly developed guilt. You made your choice. Now live with it." "I'll go to court. I'll fight for custody." "You'll lose. I have documentation of everything. The threats, the blacklisting, the $50,000, the pattern of abuse. Try to take me to court, and I'll destroy you all over again." She wasn't bluffing. He could see it in her eyes. "I don't want to fight," Mark said, voice breaking. "I just want to matter to them." "You don't, and you never will." She turned to the twins. "Get in the car, babies." They obeyed without hesitation. As they climbed into the back seat, Lily waved at Mark, just a small, uncertain wave. Rowan didn't wave, just watched him with those grey-green eyes that were exactly like Mark's. Then Cicely drove away, and Mark was left kneeling on the sidewalk alone. A neighbour walked by, staring. Mark stood up slowly, aware of how pathetic he must look. He got in his car and sat there for a long time, watching the empty street, thinking about how he'd lost everything that mattered. His phone buzzed. Text from his lawyer about final bankruptcy proceedings. He almost laughed. Losing money seemed insignificant now. He'd lost something far more valuable. He'd lost them. That night, Cicely tucked the twins into bed. Rowan was quiet, thoughtful. "Mama, was that man really our father?" "Biologically, yes." "What does that mean?" "It means he helped make you, but he wasn't there for anything else." "Why not?" "How do you explain cruelty to a 5-year-old? He was scared, baby. Some people make bad choices when they're scared." "Are you scared?" "Sometimes." "What do you do when you're scared?" "I remember that I have you and Lily. That makes me brave." Rowan considered this. "I don't think we need that man. We have Dante." "You like Dante?" "He's going to be our real dad, right? If that's what you want." "It is." Rowan yawned. "Good night, Mama." "Good night, baby." In Lily's room, Cicely found her daughter still awake. "Mama, was that man nice when you knew him?" "Sometimes, not always." "Is that why you left?" "Yes." "I'm glad you left. We're happier now." "Me too, baby." "Dante's nicer." "Yes, he is. And he doesn't make you cry." Cicely's throat tightened. "No, he doesn't." "Then we should keep him." "I think so too." After the twins were asleep, Dante arrived. Cicely let him in, fell into his arms, and cried. "He showed up again," she said, got on his knees, begged to know them. "What did you say?" "No, I said no." "And the kids?" She laughed through tears. "The kids didn't even want to know him. They just wanted to go home and see you." Dante held her tighter. "They're smart kids. They chose you, over biology, over everything. They chose you. I'll spend the rest of my life making sure they never regret that choice." "I know you will." They stood there in the quiet brownstone, building something Mark Taylor could never touch. Outside, Mark drove back to Queens, alone, thinking about how kings fall, not in grand battles, but in small, everyday losses. And the loss of his children was the greatest loss of all. Chapter 9. The Truth. Children deserve. There are some truths you tell because you must, and some you tell because your children deserve a mother who doesn't hide from the past. 3 weeks before the wedding, Cicely decided it was time. The twins were getting older, asking more questions. Eventually, they'd want to know about their biological father, about where they came from, about why Dante wasn't there from the beginning. Better to tell them now, on her terms, in her words. She planned it carefully. Saturday morning. After pancakes, but before cartoons. When they were full and happy and less likely to get upset. She sat them down at the kitchen table with bowls of ice cream. Bribery always helped difficult conversations. "I want to tell you something important," she started. Rowan looked immediately worried. "Are we in trouble?" "No, baby. Nothing like that." "Is Dante okay?" Lily asked. "Dante's fine. This is about before Dante, before Miss Rosa, before this house." Both children watched her with wide eyes, ice cream temporarily forgotten. "Before you were born, there was a man I knew. I thought I loved him, and I thought he loved me. But when I got pregnant with you two, he got scared, really scared. And instead of being brave, he made a bad choice." "What choice?" Rowan asked. "He told me to go away. He said you two would ruin my life." and I left. Did we ruin your life? Lily's voice was small. No, baby, never. You made my life worth living. What happened to the man? Rowan asked. He stayed in New York. I moved to Chicago. I had you two, and we built our own family. Is he the crying man? Lily asked. The one from outside. Of course they'd connect the dots. Yes. He's our father? Rowan asked carefully. Biologically, yes. But being a father is more than biology. It's showing up every day. It's reading bedtime stories and helping with homework and being there when you're scared. Dante does all that stuff, Lily said. Yes, he does. So Dante's our real dad, if you want him to be. We do, both twins said simultaneously. Cicely's throat tightened. You don't want to know the other man? The one who… No, Rowan said firmly. We already have a dad. But he's your biological father. Don't you want to meet him? Ask him questions? Lily shrugged. Why? He left you. That's mean. He was scared. Being scared doesn't make being mean okay, Rowan said, repeating something Cicely had taught him. She looked at her 5-year-old children and realized they understood more than she'd given them credit for. You're right, she said. It doesn't. Can we have more ice cream? Lily asked, attention span exhausted. Sure, baby. Just like that, the conversation was over. The twins went back to their ice cream, then to playing, leaving Cicely sitting at the table wondering if she'd done the right thing. That afternoon, Dante came over to help with wedding planning. The twins immediately dragged him outside to play. How'd it go? He asked when they had a moment alone. They don't want to know him. They want you. Are you sure they understand what that means? They understand enough. They know he left. They know you stayed. That's all that matters to them. It might change when they're older. Maybe. But right now they're happy, they're safe, and they chose you. Dante pulled her close. I meant what I said before. I'll spend my life making sure they never regret that. I know. 2 days later, an envelope arrived at Cicely's office. No return address, expensive stationery. Inside was a letter. She recognized the handwriting immediately. Cicely, I'm not asking for forgiveness. I don't deserve it. I'm not asking for a place in their lives. I don't deserve that either. I just need you to know that what I did to you was the worst thing I've ever done. Destroying you when you were pregnant, threatening you, calling you nothing. Those weren't mistakes. They were cruelty, and I've spent 5 years realizing that. I saw them, Lily and Rowan. They're beautiful. They're happy. They're everything I said would ruin your life, and instead, they're the reason you have one. I'm not writing this for me. I'm writing it for them. Someday, maybe when they're older, they'll want to know about their biological father. And when that day comes, I need them to know this. I was a coward. I was afraid of being a father, afraid of commitment, afraid of love. So I hurt the person who loved me most. I hurt you, and in doing that, I hurt them before they were even born. But you were brave. You took what should have destroyed you and turned it into strength. You raised them alone. You built an empire from nothing. You showed them what real love looks like. I hope he's good to you. I hope he's everything I should have been and wasn't. I hope he loves them the way they deserve to be loved, and I hope, someday, you can tell them that their biological father was sorry, that he didn't abandon them because they weren't wanted, but because he was too broken to recognize the gift they were. I won't contact you again. This is goodbye. I'm sorry. For everything. Mark. Cicely read it twice. Then she did something she hadn't expected. She cried, not for what they'd lost, not even for Mark's obvious pain, but for the finality of it, for the closing of a chapter, for the relief of knowing it was finally, truly over. She took the letter home, put it in a safe deposit box with other important documents. Someday, if the twins wanted to know their biological father, she'd give them this letter. Let them make their own decisions about what it meant. But that was someday. Today, she had a wedding to plan. That evening, while Dante supervised bath time, which somehow always turned into a water fight, Cicely watched from the doorway. Lily was shrieking with laughter. Rowan was trying to explain the aerodynamics of water splashing. Dante was completely soaked but smiling. This was her family. Imperfect, chaotic, beautiful. Mark Taylor had tried to prevent this, had told her these children would ruin her life. Instead, they'd given her everything. "Mama!" Lily called. "Dante says we can have extra story time if we get out now." "Then I suggest you get out." After stories, after teeth brushing, after final hugs, Cicely and Dante stood in the hallway outside the twins' rooms. "Did you get the letter?" he asked. He'd known it was coming. Mark had told his lawyer to forward it. "Yes." "What did it say?" "That he's sorry, that he hopes you're good to us, that he won't contact us again." "Do you believe him?" "I think he finally understands what he lost. Whether that translates to leaving us alone, I don't know. But I have legal protection now, restraining orders if needed. He can't touch us." "Good." "Dante?" "Yeah? Thank you. For being here. For loving us. For choosing us when someone else didn't." "You make it sound like a sacrifice. This is the best thing that ever happened to me." She kissed him, soft and grateful. 3 weeks until you're officially their dad." "I already am. The paperwork is just formality." And he was right. The adoption papers were filed. The wedding was planned. The life they were building together was real. Mark Taylor had been just a shadow, but Dante Russo was the sun. Chapter 10. The Woman Who Chose Light. Some endings are about revenge and some are about rising. Cicely Tyson chose to rise so high that the man who tried to bury her could never reach her again. The wedding day arrived with winter sunshine breaking through December clouds like a promise kept. Lily woke Cicely at dawn by jumping on her bed. "Mama, you're getting married today!" Rowan appeared in the doorway, already dressed in his underwear and one sock. "Can we have the chocolate pancakes? The special ones?" Cicely pulled them both into bed, these two miracles that Mark Taylor had called mistakes, and held them tight. "Yes, babies. All the chocolate pancakes you want." The garden venue in Westchester was perfect. White roses climbing through bare trees, fairy lights strung like stars, 60 guests who'd earned their seats by showing up when it mattered, not because they wanted something from her, because they loved her. Lily wore a white dress with shoes that lit up when she walked. She'd been testing them all morning, making them flash with every stomp. "Look, Mama, they're magic shoes." Rowan wore his tiny tuxedo and kept pulling at the collar. "Why do fancy clothes have to be so itchy?" "Beauty is pain, buddy," Dante said, adjusting Rowan's bow tie. "That's dumb." "Agreed. But you look very handsome." The music started. Guests rose. Lily went down the aisle first, throwing petals with absolute chaos. Some hit the ground, some hit guests. One landed in a woman's champagne glass. "Sorry!" Lily yelled cheerfully, not sorry at all. Rowan followed, gripping the ring pillow like his life depended on it. He walked so slowly that Lily had to come back and push him. "Come on, Rowan!" "I'm being careful." At the altar, Dante knelt down. "You both were perfect." "I threw petals on like 8 people," Lily announced proudly. "I counted." "I didn't drop the rings even though Lily pushed me," Rowan showed the pillow. "Impressive work, both of you." The twins sat in the front row. Then the music changed and Cicely appeared. Simple ivory dress, no veil, hair loose and free. Walking alone because no one was giving her away. She'd freed herself. Dante's eyes filled with tears the moment he saw her. This woman, this incredible, unbreakable woman who'd survived everything and still chose to love. Cicely reached him, took his hands, and the world fell away. The officiant spoke, but Cicely barely heard. She was looking at Dante, at the twins watching with wide eyes, at the life she'd built from ashes. 5 years ago she'd been pregnant and terrified, fired and humiliated, told she was nothing. Today she was everything. The vows began. Dante's voice shook with emotion. "Cicely, I won't promise to complete you. You don't need completing. I won't promise to save you. You saved yourself. What I promise is this. I'll show up every single day, when you're strong and when you're tired, when life is easy and when it's hard. I'll love you, Lily and Rowan, with everything I am. You three are my home, my purpose, my everything. Cicely's turn. She looked at Dante, then at her children. 5 years ago, someone tried to bury me, told me I'd be nothing, told me my children would destroy me. He was wrong about everything. My children gave me purpose. My struggle gave me strength. And you, Dante, you showed me what real love looks like. Not control, not fear, just showing up, being present, choosing us every single day. I choose you, today, tomorrow, forever. The rings exchanged, the promises made. I now pronounce you husband and wife. You may kiss your bride. Dante kissed Cicely like she was oxygen and he'd been drowning. The twins exploded from their seats. Yes! 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 Lily jumped up and down, her magic shoes flashing. Finally! Rowan shouted. Can we have cake now? Laughter rippled through the guests. Joy was contagious. At the reception in the greenhouse after dinner and champagne toasts, Dante stood with a microphone. Before we continue, I need to do something. He called the twins forward. Both came running. Dante knelt to their level, pulled out 2 small velvet boxes. Lily, Rowan, today I married your mama, but I want you to know something important. I'm not just choosing her, I'm choosing both of you. I want to be your dad, your real dad, officially, forever. He opened the boxes. 2 lockets, each with their family photo inside. We're the Russo family now, all 4 of us, if that's what you want. Lily didn't hesitate. She threw herself at Dante so hard she nearly knocked him over. You're our dad, our real dad. Rowan was crying, wiping his eyes with his sleeve. You're not going to leave, even when we're bad? Never, not ever. I'm your dad now. That means forever. Promise? I promise, buddy. You're stuck with me. Rowan hugged him tight. Good, I don't want anyone else. Every single guest was crying. Cicely's mother sobbed openly. Miss Rosa was using napkins to wipe her eyes, because everyone there knew the story, knew what these children had survived, knew what Cicely had built from nothing. The DJ started the first dance. Dante and Cicely swayed together and she whispered, We did it. We actually did it. You did it. I just showed up. You did more than show up. You stayed. After their dance, Dante danced with Lily, who stood on his shoes and made him spin until they were both dizzy. Then Cicely danced with Rowan, who said quietly, Mama, this is the best day of my whole life. Mine too, baby. Are we going to be this happy forever? We're going to try really hard to be. The cake was brought out, chocolate with vanilla frosting because the twins had voted. Lily got frosting all over her face. Rowan ate so much he complained his stomach hurt. As the evening continued, as guests danced and laughed and celebrated, Cicely stepped out onto the greenhouse balcony for air. She stood there alone, looking at the garden, at the fairy lights, at the life she'd created. Then she saw him. Mark Taylor stood at the edge of the property, behind the fence where guests parked, just standing there, watching. Her security guard approached him, clearly telling him to leave. Cicely could have called the police, could have had him arrested for violating the distance she'd demanded. Instead, she walked to the fence. What are you doing here? Mark looked terrible, thinner, older, broken. I needed to see it, needed to see them happy, needed to see what I lost. You shouldn't be here. I know, I'm leaving, His voice cracked. They're beautiful, happy. You did that. You gave them everything. I gave them what they deserved, what you refused to give. I know. He looked past her at the reception, where through the glass they could see Dante dancing with both twins, one on each foot. He's a better man than I ever was. Yes, he is. Do they know about me? They know you exist. They don't care. They have everything they need. Mark nodded, tears streaming down his face. I'm sorry for everything. I know it doesn't matter now, but I'm sorry." "You're right, it doesn't matter." She turned to walk away. "Cicely," she looked back, "thank you for giving them a good life, for being strong enough for both of us. I wasn't strong for you. I was strong for them, and for me." She walked away, back to the greenhouse, back to her family. Mark stood there watching for another minute. Watched Dante lift Rowan onto his shoulders. Watched Lily dancing with Cicely. Watched the family that should have been his but never would be. Then he got in his car and drove away. For the last time. Inside, Dante found Cicely and pulled her close. "Was that?" "Yes. He's gone now, really gone. Are you okay?" "I'm perfect." She looked at their children, at the guests, at the life surrounding her. "I have everything I ever wanted. He has nothing. That's not revenge. That's justice." As midnight approached, as guests began to leave, Cicely and Dante stood with Lily and Rowan on the dance floor. "One more family dance," Dante suggested. All four of them danced together, the twins between them, giggling and stepping on feet and completely off rhythm. "Perfect." Lily looked up at Cicely. "Mama, are we going to live happily ever after now, like in the stories?" Cicely looked at Dante, at Rowan, at Lily. "Better than the stories, baby, because this is real. Real is better. Real is always better." The song ended. The night ended. The wedding ended. But their life, their real, beautiful, hard-won life, was just beginning. Cicely Tyson had been told she was nothing. She'd become everything. Mark Taylor had tried to bury her. She'd risen so high he could never reach her again. And as she drove away with her husband and children, heading home to the brownstone she'd bought with money she'd earned and filled with love she'd chosen, she realized something profound. The best revenge wasn't destroying him. It was building a life so beautiful, so full, so complete that he became irrelevant. A footnote in a story about triumph. A cautionary tale about what happens when you underestimate a woman who refuses to stay down. Mark Taylor lost everything. Cicely Tyson won everything, and she'd never felt more alive. Some women break, some women bend. Cicely Tyson rose, and the view from the top was magnificent. The end.